All right. So, we are back and we're getting into this book of remembrance of Moses, the tablet of Gabriel, chapter 10. Okay? Now, we're going to get, deep into this because you got to know that there's this separation, okay? Two directions, all right? Two different gods that Israel was serving. This is why I no longer refer to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, because there is a portion of the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that chose to serve blood gods. Okay, chose to serve demonic gods, chose to serve benevolent gods. Okay, versus the portion that chose to serve the true and living God, which is benevolent. Okay? And the reason for this over a period of time was because of the perversions that was added into the scriptures. Okay? The blending of good and evil. Okay? Mixed into the scriptures. All right? I bring this receipt out a lot. I think this is from the Holy Megalia. Hold on a second. When the priest mix good and evil. Alright, yeah, the Holy Megalia, Nazarene Bible of the Essene Way. Alright. Lucifer communed with his master, Satan. That's your lower carnal nature. Okay? And behold, the voice of the serpent spoke within Lucifer, saying, oh, goodness sakes, bro. Let my priests mix good with evil, for it is in the robes of good that I shall dress my seeds. And only one thing is truly needful, to enslave humanity. He must be made to eat flesh meat. Okay? The flesh and blood. Okay? The demons found that they could slow the vibration of and thereby weaken the shield of light of creatures by getting them to eat flesh. All right? Behold, Lucifer taught many to kill animals for food and pleasure and to sacrifice them to him, their God. All right? Due to these practices, the people became denser and easier to influence. Okay? Denser means they seared their conscience. All right? They cut off their conscience. All right? And they followed demons. Okay? This is what a portion of our people were doing. Okay? So, I'm here to bring awareness to this. All right? So, it connects to the book of remembrance of Moses. Okay? Because understand, Akis, all right, the fact that he woke us up this final time, all right, let us know who we are. Let us know where our lands are. Okay? Allowed us to understand fully what these heathens have done unto us. Okay? The fact that he's done all of this, all right, is not for us to hate the nations. Okay? No, this is to glorify our God. And how do we really glorify our God and proclaim the mighty acts of him who called us out of darkness into his marvelous light? Do we do that by hating the nations? No, we do that by saying, hey, nations, we know what you did to us, and no, you're not gonna get away with it, okay? But you do have a choice. You can choose to humble yourself like a little child, unlearn the vain wisdom of this world, relearn via the spirit of truth, accept the reproof which comes with the spirit of truth, apply that to your life and live it, and cleave unto the living witnesses. You have that option, and you are to take of your abundance of your physical prosperity, and you are to be a righteous for his vine, the living witnesses, whom he resurrected by way of his spirit. Okay? It is not for us to be condemning the nations. All right? No, we are to give them this option. Okay? And those of us who have been enduring long suffering and misery due to our spiritual mission, all right, not earning money for a living, okay, you are to be looking out for us. Okay, you're to be uplifting these messages, all right, because we are here to proclaim the mighty acts of him who called us out of darkness into his marvelous light. Okay, this light and darkness ain't mixed. He called us out of darkness, all right, to be light. Not to transform ourselves back down to darkness and then come back up to the light and then transform ourselves back down to darkness. Like, no, sir. Okay? I'm not going back to my vomit. Okay? I'm going to keep progressing forward. Okay? I'm going to stay in the light. Damn it. Okay? I don't transform back to darkness. Okay? He called me out of darkness into his marvelous light. So I'm going to be light. Okay? And light doesn't do evil. Alright? Now, Israel disperses into two directions. Eleazar and Joshua take their people home to Shiloh. The followers of Aaron wander in the wilderness for 40 years and learn to worship Baal and Ashtaroth. The name of Enoch-said is defiled. Okay? Now Enoch-said is the eternal Father. Alright? That's the eternal Father. Enoch-said is the eternal Father. Alright? His name, loving kindness, righteousness, has been defiled. Okay? Instructions for how evil corrupted the holy name, followed by the Lord's instructions for how to repair and elevate once again the holy name. Okay? So, how do we proclaim the name? That's another word for saying elevate the name. Okay? Elevate, proclaim, all right? Declare his name, okay? His holy name, all right? And it came to pass that I began to witness the permanent separation of the Yahudim into the two groups, one with Eleazar, son of Aaron, and the other with Eleazar, son of Moses. And both groups could not stay where they had been, for the land could not support them. And one group went to Mount Hor, and the other to Kadesh Barnea. And both groups decided to send some men to scout out the land of Canaan to see if they could go there, because Kadesh Barnea could not support so many people, and the mountain was no more, and the two groups could not live together. All right. How can two walk in the accord if they're not in unison? Okay. How can you walk in unison with one another when you're not in one accord with one another? Okay. Be not unequally yoked. This is not just pertaining to a marriage. Okay. Because you are the company that you keep. Okay. And if there's two opposing forces, okay, there's one group that's wanting to serve a blood god, and there's another group that wants to serve the pure righteous God. How can they get along? How can they coexist? They cannot. Okay, cannot live together. All right. Now Moses has sent the ark back to be in care. Hold on, I don't want to get into all of this. I just want to get the hold on. Some of the people were disrespectful at Sinai, and the Hebrew treasure was too important to risk with them, and too holy to be subjected to any disputes like those of the heathen nations. Okay? Some of the people were disrespectful at Sinai, and the Hebrew treasure was too important to risk with them, and too holy to be subjected to any disputes like those of the heathen nations. Okay? So that right there tells you that all your religions is nonsense. Okay? None of them can get you to the coming kingdom. Okay? Every single one of your religions is perverted. Okay? Every single one of them. All right? Because he didn't give us no religion. All right? He came and he told us to be righteous. Okay? And he taught us how to be righteous, people. All right? So, we need to stop it with all of the traditions of mortal men. Okay? The vain wisdom of this world. That which we've been taught to believe the entirety of our life. Okay? From other mortals. Okay? You gotta let that go. Be retaught by way of the Spirit. All right? And those who disputed with Moses viewed their pathway to their future after they left Egypt as being one outside the covenant of Abraham and diverse from the gentle tenets of the law of Jeshurun. Okay? Now we'll get deeper into the law of Jeshurun because that's just a righteous law. Okay? And it is really a law of love. Okay? And it's just broken down. Okay? The law of love, people. All right? Two kinds of eyes investigate Canaan. All right, and they only thought of taking what they wanted by force of arms and by the oppression of any enemy that might threaten them. Okay, let's go back up again. Those who disputed with Moses viewed their pathway to their future after they left Egypt as being one outside the covenant of Abraham and diverse from the gentle tenets of the law of Jeshurun, the law of love. And they only thought of taking what they wanted by force of arms and by the oppression of any enemy that might threaten them. And at this early time, they had no weapons, and they did not have the means or skills to organize themselves to be an army. And so the scouts they sent out to assess the land of Canaan had eyes only to look at the prospect of overcoming the people there by force. And those sent out to spy upon the land of Canaan by the supporters of Aaron came back and reported that all the people of Canaan were well armed and big and strong, and that their dwelling places were well fortified. And they said, we cannot go into their lands, because the people are like giants before us. Okay? And in this aspect, it's talking about they stronger than us. Okay? Like, we ain't gonna be able to defeat them. They're way more powerful than us. Okay? They're undefeatable. Here's the contrast. Verse 7. And it came to pass that Eleazar, son of Moses, also sent out men to inspect the land of Canaan, to see if they might proceed to go there. And these men had an altogether different view of their mission, and their character was such that they behaved like Abraham, to walk gently and peacefully upon the land. And to this was because they worshipped a God of loving kindness. Hello. I don't live my life according to the majority of this world, okay? According to the dictates of this world, I live my life according to this character, okay? Walking gently and peacefully upon the land. That means I don't carry man-made mortal weapons, all right? I don't participate in selfish ambition for the reward of money, okay? For my own self-preservation. I don't live a life of selfishness. Okay? I don't live a life of greed. Okay? I live a peaceful life. Alright? Because I truly worship the God of loving kindness. Okay? And they had an eye to consider finding the conditions that would be well suited for them to fulfill their mission as the Yahudims, to become a holy nation. And when they journeyed there, they spoke with the local people with respect, and were careful to listen to them. And they were received with hospitality. And they saw the goodness of the land, and the places of pleasant living, with the earth there producing plenty for the people. The earth there producing plenty for the people. And upon their return they reported that it would be good to go there. The righteous go home. Okay, because remember, the promised land is the land of Canaan. Now you want to believe that we spilt blood for the land. How would that be a blessing from the true and living God, to take land by spilling blood? Can't you read in the scriptures, he that builds a city upon blood, woe unto him? He that builds a town upon bloodshed, literally, woe unto him. So clearly, my Akis, the fact that y'all are claiming that this is your land, okay, right? If you're saying that we entered this land by slaughtering the Canaanites, then technically, you want to claim that it's a righteous thing because Canaan stole it from us first, okay? But that is still not right. It's not a righteous way to go about getting the land back. So now we're going over the two different paths of the Yahudim. Okay, there's one path, the righteous path, that's doing it the correct way. And there is the other ones that took the other path that's looking to do it the slaughter way. Okay, the bloodshed way. Okay, They want to take things by force, okay? They want to dominate over others, okay? They want to rule over others, okay? They want to take away the free agency of others, force others to follow their dictates, okay? That's evil. That's malevolent, okay? All of that is malevolent. All of that is contrary to loving kindness, okay? Now, the land of Canaan is the promised land that was to be given back to Shem. Okay? And it was. Okay? I gotta say it. It was. It was given back to Shem. But Shem, alright, and you know, the Yahudim that was upon these lands did not keep the covenant. The pure covenant. Alright? They broke the pure covenant. They ignored all the prophets. And then they started killing the prophets. Okay? Handed the promised anointed one over to the worst of the heathen to have them murder him. So, okay, all these other nations, alright, and their fallen angels, okay, their principalities, alright, spiritual wickedness in high places, they were allowed to come over here. Okay, and set up shop. Alright, rape, rob, murder, take our land. All right, they spilled much blood on this land, and they took it by brute force. Okay, so there's something that you nations need to understand. You have this land by bloodshed. Okay, so woe be unto you, because you spilled blood for the land. Okay, and you've been oppressing the original inhabitants this entire time. All right, and our God allowed it because we broke the covenant. But you are ignoring the living witnesses, whom he resurrected by way of his spirit. All right? And they had prayers before they left. And Reuel proceeded there as the elder of the people. And all could sense that Enoch, he said, would go with him to guide them in the way. Okay? The way, the narrow path, okay? Loving your neighbor as thyself, regardless of how you're treated. And that's hard to do in a wicked-ass society, in a wicked-ass system that punishes you for not being selfish, okay? That punishes you for being meek and tenderhearted, okay? And the men who had scouted out the land went before them and sought approval for their people to cross over the land. And the people saw that they had no weapons and were not even rowdy, though at times they had little to eat. And in this way, the children of the Yahudim returned home with dignity. Okay, the land was returned with dignity, being of an upright spirit, having overcome all obstacles. And the children of a tender father were come home at long last to live in his arms. Okay, not a frightening thing to be in the arms, in the hands of the ever-presence of benevolence in the promised land. Now when you're being obedient. And the scouts would ask the advice of the local elders so they could know how to not disturb them along the way. And it came to pass that they arrived at Bethel. And Eleazar rehearsed to the people there all that his father had recounted to him as to what Jacob had done there. And all the people reverenced Bethel, and they camped there for some days. And the altar was still there. And I thought to myself, what the earth and the rocks there must have felt to once again feel the feet of the children of Jacob. And how delighted they must have been to see that the mission of Yahudim to be an emissary of loving kindness to the world was already being realized with the Hebrews and the Midianites and the Egyptians and the people of Adah all coming together. The star of Elda was certainly shining on the company of the Yahudim in those moments at the ancient altar of Jacob. Now, this is not a wicked altar sacrificing animals, okay? We're going to get into that later. Well, we already did, really, okay? I already went over that, okay? I already showed you that in this series. And after they passed Bethel, they met with the elders of the settlements round about to seek their favor in finding a place to live and build houses. And the elders met together, and they considered all things carefully. And they said, there is a place that nobody has claimed, and it has been reserved since early days, and it has been designated to remain as a place for those whose it is until they come. And we call it Shiloh. And the name Shiloh means just that, and all witness that the Lord had prepared the way before them. Okay? The Lord has prepared the way before them. And it came to pass that all the people with Eleazar settled there, and in the region surrounding Shiloh. And when other old order Midianites heard the news that the mountain was no more, they sent people to look at Sinai. And from there they went to see Reuel. And Moses had remained behind there with his family. And Moses and Reuel recounted for them all that transpired at Sinai. And they stayed at Kadesh Barnea for several days to help with the gardens and the labor, to help set the oasis in order once again. And they found out about the settlement at Shiloh. And in time, many of them went from Engedi and Beersheba and other places, and they made their way to Shiloh. Okay, and this is again in the land of Canaan that was returned unto us. Okay, and these people entered into the pure covenant at Shiloh with their Hebrew brethren, and they were zealous for the law of Jeshurun, the law of divine love, and they rejoiced at the news of Shabuah. Okay, practicing loving thy neighbor as thyself. All right. And all these at Shiloh became known as the original Samaritans. All right. Now, I know a lot of people might have a problem with that. Okay. And, you know, we might need to get some more receipts to that. Okay. Now, and the name Samaria, it means a place where the law is protected and intended to keep and honor to this day. And the people there have been looked upon as outsiders ever since. And they professed a God of loving kindness. And they became a very circumspect and faithful people. Now, we can find in the scriptures, in the Bible, the Messiah ministering unto a Samaritan woman. Okay? Convinced her. All right? But somehow, the Samaritans is disdained by many of our people. Interesting. I find that very interesting. And it came to pass that Eleazar of Aaron found himself in a hard place because his brothers, who had been consecrated to be priests after the Levitical order, were unexpectedly killed during mischief at the tabernacle, and immediately Eleazar was expected to fill that role, not having been called by the true and living God, but falling to the role of priest by way of lineage. Okay? My brethren, many of my brethren pride themselves off of lineage and firstborn. Okay? And he was completely unprepared. And his father was injured and not able to be with him or travel with the people. And Eleazar had no authority to intervene with his agency, because the holy order was not following with his people by decree of Anaki said. And it was written on the covenant tablet that Moses wrote the second time. And this was because Anaki said that they vexed the spirit of benevolence. And Isaiah reported that at this time in the pathway of the Yahudims, all right, the Yahudims under Eleazar rebelled and vexed his Holy Spirit. Therefore, they basically made themselves an enemy to benevolence. All right. And they fought against him. All right. And then he remembered the days of old of Moses and his people, saying, where is he that brought them up out of the sea with the shepherd of his flock? And where is he that put his Holy Spirit within him? And Isaiah said this because they had cast Moses out and rejected the benevolent God of Abraham. Okay? And the people under Eleazar, all right, the son of Aaron, were left to their fate. Okay? Because, when you choose to go contrary to benevolence, then you're left to your own devices. And when you're left to your own devices, you must go through the consequences of your choices. Okay? So you're left to your fate. And their fate was to fall under the curses brought to them by their worship of gods like Ashtaroth. All right? But we can sum this up as by their worship of blood gods, worship of malevolent gods, okay? Worship of false gods. And they worship the gods of their choosing, and thereby found trouble and subjugation and exile. Okay? Because you chose to reject the God of benevolence. Alright? And because of this, Eleazar had no way to know how to work the element of righteousness in behalf of his people. And his people were unruly and did not respect him. And they were destined to wander in the wilderness for 40 years without a way. And they continued to do so until those who were openly rebellious against the covenant of Abraham, the pure covenant of Abraham, had all passed away. Okay? Because Abraham was the first one to make the covenant with the God of benevolence. Alright? He knew that his father, there was something that his father was doing that, would seem off. Sacrificing animals. Abraham went on a hunt. Okay? You can find this in I think it's the Apocalypse of Abraham, where it goes into Abraham's story and, seeking the true and living God, the God of benevolence, okay? He made a covenant with the true and living God, all right? And this was the plan, okay? This was the plan of infinite benevolence, all right? And, the extensions, all right? The eternal Father, Mother, all right? And the Son, okay? This was the plan all along, okay? Was to get this word to the inhabitants of the earth, to give an opportunity, okay, to love one another, all right, and live in harmony, okay? But not everybody wants to take this offer. Most people only care. They don't want to walk in love, people, okay? And you cannot force it. You can't enforce people to walk in love. That just is what it is, okay? So the people who refuse benevolence is getting to the point to where they're going to destroy one another. And the only ones that's going to be protected are those who have chosen to walk in love, okay? Benevolence shields. Benevolence is a protector, okay? Is not a murderer, okay? Does not take life, all right? Sorry, drinking the rest of my coffee. 1 second. All right. Verse 26. And during those travels, all those years, they were looked upon as a band of martyrers. Okay? Let's find out what this word is. Harry Potter. Okay, a looter, a robber. Wow. A freebooter. A bandit. Alright? And this is how they have made us out to be in this false ass reality. Marauder. Alright? This is what they made us out to be in the media. Okay? Plunderer. Pillager. Okay? There were some of our people that did this. Some of our people were the original pirates. Okay? Yes, we were the seafarers. Okay? We were the ones that were ruling. We were the original kings of the earth. I know that this is hard for a lot of people to wrap their head around. Okay? But Shem was given the best, most prosperous lands. Okay? And we are the descendants of Shem, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whose name was changed to Jacob, all right, Yahudim, okay, that be us. We are the covenant people, okay, so clearly, and as much this is in real history, the Europeans got wealthy off of raiding us, marauding us, plundering us, pillaging us, looting, robbing, freeboating. Okay? They oh my God, bro. They only want to stick to what our people were doing, using it as an excuse, using our disobedience to our God as an excuse for them to do their doctrine of discovery and their manifested destiny. Okay? So, but our God allowed you to do that. Okay? What you think is indefinitely, it is not indefinite. Okay? But anyway, this is what our people were doing. All right. And it's exactly why it was allowed to happen to us. Okay. But like again, it's not indefinite. All right. And the people of the land armed themselves against them when they received word that they had come near to their lands and settlements. And when I beheld this with Urim, my heart was broken, and I wept before the scribes. And I said, O Lord, I see a very great tragedy, because I see and understand that their oral traditions that came down through the people of Eleazar over time began to be found in written language. And the written language was thought to be seen as authoritative, and for many to be unerring. Like to this day, they want to call the written words of mortal men the infallible word of God, even though it's blended with all kinds of blasphemous perversions, claiming that the Messiah fed the multitude with 2 dead fish. Okay? He created the damn fish. He put the fish in their watery habitat. All right, told them to be fruitful and multiply. And yet you think that he came here to freaking kill the fish and feed it to... Stop it. Quit it. Okay? It was fruit and bread. All right? So them scriptures are not infallible. All right? It was clearly perverted. All right? So it's not authoritative. All right, as many of my Akis, many of my brethren, they want to say the scripture has the final word. All right, it only does by the leading of the Holy Spirit. Okay, because exactly what I'm telling you, exactly what I'm saying, can't be found in the pages of that book. But you can also find what's contrary in the pages of that book. That same book. Okay, it's 2 opposing sides. There is good and evil. Okay, that is blended into the pages of that book. And all of these spiritual records. Okay? And the written word described and cast our gentle father, Anaki said, as a warlike God who will help them kill their enemies, and as one who would kill his own people, who were called by his name, loving kindness, righteousness. Okay? Our people are blaspheming his name, saying that he killed us. All right? For our disobedience. Does any father kill his children when they disobey him? Did Jacob kill Levi and Simeon? Or was he willing to include them to participate in the most sacred ceremony of his life when the law was put into all creation? And when y'all act like you as a parent is more righteous than the eternal father mother. If you would not kill your own child for disobeying you, what the hell makes you think that the eternal living God, the eternal Father, the eternal Mother would kill us for disobeying him? Now, if your child chose to be outright rebellious against you, be hateful towards you, and they choose to leave from your protection, are you going to keep chasing them down to save them from the consequences of their evil choices? Or are you going to allow them to learn the hard way, since that's what they keep choosing? They keep choosing to learn the hard way. So at some point in time, you're going to have to allow them. I mean, at first you might, when they're younger, okay, you're going to be following behind them, looking for them, trying to spare them from the consequences of their choices. But after a while, you're going to be like, look now, I done spared you all of these times. All right. At some point, you're going to have to learn. Okay. And this is what it is. Okay. My Akis want to call this tough love. All right. But it's not our God that's, punishing us. He's just not going to keep, chasing behind us, wiping our ass. No, if we gon' shit, we gon' wipe our ass, okay? If you choose to shit, then you gon' wipe your own ass. All right? It ain't for our God to wipe our ass for us. Okay? All right. So no, he's not a warlike God who will help us kill our enemies. Because our God is not a God of death and bloodshed. If you want a God of death and bloodshed, then okay, that's the adversary. That's the opposite God of benevolence. All right? Hey, it's one or the other. It is not a blend. Okay? And all kinds of terrible atrocities and terrible acts of wanton cruelty has been attributed to Anaki said. And he is our gentle and loving one, who has the name Inaki said. And he is the great I am loving kindness. And my spirit shrunk back at the understanding of the enormity of this tragedy, because it extends much further than just impacting the lives of those wandering in the wilderness those 40 years in that day. Because now for thousands of years, untold millions of people have viewed Inaki said in those blasphemous terms and crimes too horrific to even think about have been done in his name and are attributed to Anaki said, attributed to benevolence, attributed to loving kindness, attributed to righteousness. Thus, good is being called evil, and evil is being called good. Okay? And I thought, oh Lord, how could this great calamity have taken place? What forces brought this about? See, Jacob was bequeathed the star of elder so that the people of the Yahudim could be his emissaries of loving kindness to the world, insomuch that all people could feel drawn to their father's love, and thus they could come to a knowledge of a God who is love, and by their kinship with him, they could come to a full expression of their gifts of life that he has given them, and he has provided a sure pathway back to Eden for any who choose to walk thereon can be redeemed back into his presence to eternally live in the arms of his rich embrace. All right, the war from Shekath to destroy the name of the true and living God. All right, benevolence, loving kindness, righteousness. All right, Shekath is the pit. All right, that was created by Azazel. Okay. I cried aloud and said, "O Lord, how can this be undone? And how can your holy name be restored before the world, to be one of honor again?" And I was seized with a strong spirit of determination. And I said to the Lord, if you will, O Lord, use us for that purpose. And the Lord immediately answered my cry And my question of how could such a thing come about that polluted his holy name in such unthinkable ways? Let me show you some of these unthinkable ways that his name has been perverted. Give me a second. So, you want to say he created evil, but he did not. He gave a choice. All right. He gave you the option to continue in his goodness or rebel against divine love and all things benevolent, thereby you creating evil. Okay? We have the ability to rebel against righteousness. All right? So when we rebel against divine love and righteousness, that's evil. Okay? But you can see how this has been in the scripture that our God created evil. No. That's blasphemous. Our God gave us a choice. That's not evil. Okay? Want to claim our God deceives people? All right? Claim our God tells people to lie? Okay? Claim that our God lies? Claim he rewards liars? Claim he sends serpents to bite and kill people? Okay? Claim he ordered men to become drunken? Claim he rewards the fool and the transgressor? Claim he mingled a perverse spirit? Claim he spread dung on people's faces? Look up these receipts, people. Okay? Claim he ordered stealing? Claim he made false prophecies? Alright? Claim he changes his mind, even though you can read in the scriptures that I change not, all right, for you sons of Jacob, all right, I don't change, all right, for your sake I change not, okay. Claim that he caused adultery. Why the hell are people complacent with putting all this evil on the true and living God, who gave us a choice to be righteous, gave us the opportunity to choose love, choose righteousness, choose life. But because people rather choose death, okay, and it's because they want to please their flesh, all right, they want to live for the here and now, okay, this is why they cast off loving their neighbor as thyself. Okay? Want to claim that he ordered the taking of a harlot? Okay? Claim that he killed? Alright? Claim that he orders killing? Okay? Claim that he has a temper? Alright? Claim that he is often jealous? What the hell does the infinite creator of benevolent consciousness have to be jealous of? No, the only gods that would be jealous are false gods. Okay? False gods are jealous. Okay? Someone that's authentic would not have a reason to be jealous. If you're authentic, how the hell are you jealous? You would never be jealous of somebody that's not authentic. Okay? Only a pretender would be jealous. He want to claim that he was not omnipresent, okay? That he often repented, all right? Like he makes mistakes, okay? That he plays favorites, all right? Now he does favor those who are obedient unto him, of course. All right, because we're the ones that choose to be obedient. So, you can see it as favor that he will shield and protect us. That's favor, damn it. The wicked don't get that. All right, the wicked don't get divine protection. The wicked don't get shielding by the true and living God. The wicked don't get blessed by the true and living God, except for a period of time where you're allotted your freedom of choice to choose whether you're going to, continue in his goodness or just live it up according to the pleasures of your flesh during an allotted time frame. Okay? And that's what these Gentiles have chosen to do. Many of them, they just chose to be as wicked as possible. All right? Just take whatever the hell they wanted and enjoy themselves. All right? But they're going to pay for that. There's a stiff penalty that comes for living their life not caring about anybody but themselves. All right? You're going to reap what you sow. Okay? That he sanctions slavery, that he does abortions. Okay, all of this blasphemy, people. All of this blasphemy. That he hardens hearts so that he could do more horrors to the Egyptians. Okay? Like, my brethren literally pride themselves on claiming that our God hardens their hearts so that, he can continue to punish them. All right, he don't want them to unharden their heart so he can continue to punish them. Like, bro, that is a malevolent God, okay? I'm just being straight up with you. You dealing with a malevolent God. All right, that is not the God of loving kindness. That's not eternal benevolence. That's not the righteous God. Okay, that's not the God of light. That's not the God of love. Okay, that is not the God that created our spirit. That's not the God that created the heavens and the earth. That's not the God that told us to love one another as ourselves. Okay, it's the adversary. All right, claiming that he turned and transformed their hearts to hate his people, to deal craftily with his servants. Okay, what is going on with my OBS? Like, bro, I'm trying here. My freaking computer, man. This is insane. Like, I'm trying my best here, but my computer is, like, really freaking doing the most, man. What the hell? See, I'm not gonna go through all of this, people. I gotta try to hurry, okay? I gotta, upload 4 videos today. Okay, so I'm gonna try to get through as much of this as I can, and then, we'll probably be continuing in the book of remembrance, because I don't know if I'm gonna get through all of this. Okay, I'm trying my best. Okay. All right. Polluted his name in such unthinkable ways. I just showed you all the ways and how they polluted his name. Okay. Hold on. All right, now, he's being brought down. All right, he's looking through the Urim and all of this. All right, and he's being shown what's happening in Shekath. Okay, this pit that was created by Azazel. All right. He was there and he saw stretching out before him 7 sets of people. All right, I really don't want to go through all of this. Okay. I just want to point out the important things. All right. And the presence of the Lord is strong with me as I cast my eyes about to see what this might mean. And the Lord said, I have brought you here into Shekath, where evil plans originate, so I can teach you both how the name of Inaki said has been desecrated, and also to teach you how the name of Inaki said, benevolence, loving kindness, can come again to be known in all its goodness and purity and holiness. Okay? There ain't no wickedness. There is no evil in the true and living God, people. Okay? Come on, computer, stop tripping. It says Windows is reporting a problem all of a sudden. Gosh, bruh. And the Lord said, I will show you how you can repair my sacred name. And I looked where he was pointing, and I looked and considered the first set. Hold on. I'm going to read all of this. And you see Azazel, okay? He's conducting a ferocious war against Melchizedek, all right? Because he is establishing Shabuah, okay? Melchizedek is establishing Shabuah, which is the practicing of loving one another as thyself, okay? Practicing, a communal living, sharing with one another, all right? Unison, harmony, righteousness, peace, okay? Azazel was angry because women were being added to the holy order in a protective role using the angels of the fourth station, okay? Like, there's a whole lot of dogmatic belief systems, all right? People want to impose gender roles and these things, all right? That ain't the way that the Father, eternal Father, Mother operates, all right? That's dictates of mortal men. And Azazel does not recognize that it is motes of the Lamb at the altar, all right? That's who you want to call Jesus or Yahusha or Yahawashai, okay? Who is establishing the order of Zedi Kedatabab. I don't know how to pronounce it, all right? And Azazel hates females. And his hatred is intense because females join things together in rich bonds, in bonds of rich affection. And Azazel can only prosper when there is division and alienation. And he has sent a spy to watch the establishment of Shabuah, okay? Because he wanted to basically corrupt it from within, all right? And his intention is to corrupt the holy order with self-glory, okay? And the longing for high status, okay? And with the authority to command others and to stand in the place of Eniki said himself, okay? Like basically replacing Eniki said with themselves, all right, to bring wickedness and oppression in the name of Eniki said, all right. And Azazel is gesturing wildly in his anger as he stands before Melchizedek, all right. Now, let's see. Nahor is conducting a war of cruelty against the tablet of Gabriel, all right, and he will stop at nothing to achieve the destruction of the holy pathway back to Eden, all right. And Nahor is paying careful heed to the voices of instructions to him arising out of Shekath, and those prominent in Shekath desire to own all the souls of humanity, to destroy them, leaving Eniki said, no children, because they envy and hate all the images of eternal benevolence, okay? So all of us that emulate benevolence, they hate us, okay? We're hated by Azazel. We're hated by the inhabitants of Shekath, okay? And we're hated by all the wicked who are following Azazel and all the demonic spirits, all of the fallen angels, okay? And the kind of dominance they desire there is that they may subjugate the purposes of all his creations, to make all things in creation to do their will, and to provide for their grandeur and preeminence and control. This is what people keep accusing me of, but this is not what I'm doing. Unfortunately, most of humanity are following the people that have done this. while they keep ignoring the meek, tender-hearted vessels of mercy that's trying to save them from this. And their intention is for themselves to become the objects of creation and to commandeer all the forces of darkness to obey them and to uphold them in all their evil ways. All right, now you can read this in I think the Testament of Solomon, where Solomon was controlling demons. Okay, like, my brethren look at this like it's a good thing. Solomon controlling the demons. He got the demons working for him. Like, bro. You think it's righteous? Wow. Did you ever see the Messiah having the demons work for him? Or did he literally just cast them away? Did he just silence them? Did he just tell them, be away with you? Alright, he did not fellowship with demons. He did not enslave the demons and have them work for him. Okay? Like, you are to be emulating the Messiah. Like, why are you emulating Solomon? Alright? Because you are upholding a hell of a lot of evil ways, my Akis. Alright? They were trying like hell to destroy the law of love. Okay? And clearly they've done a damn good job. Alright? Because yes, they have replaced glorifying the true and living God with glorifying yourself. Okay? And glorifying celebrities. And glorifying your pastor. Glorifying those who set themselves up in authority. Okay? Let's see, bro. Corrupting the marriage and all of this. Okay, corrupting the sanctity of marriage. I'm gonna scroll on down. I'm trying to get through this. Okay, hold on. Okay, and it is the sanctity of marriage that keeps the appeal of fornication from being acted upon, and it safeguards the families of humanity from accumulating a sense of guilt and shame, for children can learn from both parents the skills meant to undergird holiness. Okay? I wouldn't go as far as to say that, if you can't keep yourself from fornicating, get married. No, bro, because you're not supposed to be getting married for the purposes of sexual gratification. Okay? You are supposed to be subduing your flesh. Alright? Stop acting like it's perfectly normal and natural. Alright? No! That's dealing with the flesh. Crucify your flesh. Okay? Hold in your seed. Alright? You act like it's a righteous thing to be spreading around your seed. What is you want to think is righteous to bring children into this world? How, Sway? This is a wicked ass world. Unless you are living a righteous lifestyle, okay, and you're married, you get everything in order to where you can, successfully provide for that child, okay? Both of all of its physical wants and needs and also its spirituality, alright? Training that child up to know Inaki said, okay? Not sending that child off to public education to be indoctrinated by this satanic ass system just to be another carbon copy robot for the... Like, if you're not prepared for that, why in the hell are you continuously bringing children into this world? And then calling it righteous. It is not righteousness. Lock it up. Zip up your pants. Okay? Keep it in your pants. Alright? Quit it. It's all dealing with the goddamn carnal flesh, people. You want to gratify your flesh. You want the pleasure of the flesh. You want an orgasm. That's what it's all about. Crucify your flesh. Get it under the control of the Spirit. Okay? The only time you actually really want to marry is if you have met your soul mate. Divine masculine meets divine feminine. Okay? Then is a perfect unison. Alright? And then it will never ever be any see, people want to I don't even want to get this deep, bro, but you wonder why, like, people say that no marriage is perfect. It would be if it was a righteous marriage. If it was done the right way, there would never be any contention. Okay? It would never be any contention because it will be a soul connection. Alright? Divine masculine meets the divine feminine. Alright? And they will be in one accord, in unison. The two would come together to be one. Okay? So there's no discord there. Alright? But that's not what we see today, people. That ain't what we see today. Alright? And there's a whole lot of discord in the family and all of these things. Alright, hold on. Because, bro, I'm trying to get down. Okay, let's see here. They decided that Azazel himself would oversee the battle over Joseph. And the cunning of Azazel and his long experience made him very powerful and a capable enemy of a long-term war against the mission of the people of the Yahudim, which mission was strengthened by Joseph. Alright, and speaking of Joseph, Joseph kept it in the pans. Alright, Joseph kept it in his pans. Alright, even though that woman, what the heck was her name? I don't remember. It was the Pharaoh's was it Pharaoh? His wife kept throwing herself at him, alright, and he kept resisting her. Alright? Damn shame. Damn shame she turned on him anyway and was like, hey, she accused him even though he kept resisting all her urges. Alright? He remained righteous. Joseph, okay? And apparently he was very attractive, so you can't use that as an excuse. Alright? Joseph was very attractive, apparently. Alright? This woman was literally throwing herself at him. Okay? And he kept it in his pants. Alright? Look to Joseph. Emulate that. Alright? The mission was strengthened by Joseph and would be lived out by his offspring for untold generations. Joseph was righteous. Alright? And it was decided that the war now with Joseph would turn to the temporal accumulation of wealth and with a corresponding satisfaction of possessions. Okay? And they would add to this the pursuit of dominance over your fellows and extend that dominance to move to include dominance over all the peoples of the earth, even in their own nations. And so they were delighted with the repentance of Jacob resulted in the perceived loss of inheritance for some of his children, and their hosts recounted their successes and losses at Radeph, and they consulted together for ways of magnifying their effects using these tactics. And Azazel also taught war and the beautification of women. So his plan with Joseph and Levi was to set firmly in place in the heart and life of Levi the opposite of the covenant of his grandfather Abraham and the host of darkness, put into effect the circumstances with the murder of Shechem by Levi and Simeon. All right, many of my brethren want to believe that it was a righteous thing for Levi and Simeon to murder Shechem. Okay, it was not righteous, it was wicked. All right, that all of the family of Jacob would be removed from their place as a people in disgrace, and they hoped Joseph would be destroyed, all because of a strong desire for their teachings of taking what they want by force of arms and measuring the worth of your soul by your position of preeminence and value of your possessions. All right? All my life, people measured the worth of my soul by the position of preeminence. Okay, this is what the wicked has established. All right, the world that I was born in. All right, the system I was born in, being called black. Okay, we were put on the bottom. Okay, so I'm the opposite of superior, supremacy. All right, all of these things, when I was born in this world, considered black, African American, is the opposite of this. All right, so because I was not born with a lighter skin tone, all right, there's a certain group of people that were born with privilege, okay, in this system. Because it's a Eurocentric system built on indigenous land. Okay? And it is a supremacist system. Okay? And those who are dominating this system, they consider themselves greatness. They consider themselves superior. They consider themselves excellent. Okay? They consider themselves important. They consider themselves to have prestige and stature and fame. They consider themselves as renowned. Okay, but I have always been considered the opposite of this. All right, so and I never really had any possessions. All right, so I've always been looked down upon and been diminished, belittled. All right, treated as lowly, treated as insignificant. Okay, this has been my life. All right? And it can be seen that this tactic has been effective in all that has befallen the Yahudim, clear to this day. And it was that which caused the great division in Israel that we have seen. Okay? And the Lord accompanied me to view the sixth set, and it was Moses and Aaron. And as you know, those who inhabit Shechem became angry at the prospect of Shabuah, because they see that joining to be a confederation of their enemies come together to cooperate together against them. All right. Another part of Shabuah is including the other nations that are willing to walk in divine love and compassion and kindness and mercy and empathy, coming under the umbrella of protection of our God of eternal benevolence. Okay? Loving one another as thyself. Okay? So yeah, the inhabitants of Shechem don't like that, because they like division. Alright? So they want the division of the nations. They want the nations warring with one another. Okay? And thus far unto this day, not only have the nations been warring against one another, they've also been all confederate against the covenant people of the Naki said. Okay? And most of the Lamb. Alright? Especially those of us who are walking in obedience. But they are terrified of the pathway back to Eden, which the law of Jeshurun represents to them, Because when applied to the lives of the people, they have no defense against it. When we are walking in obedience to the eternal law of divine love, there's nothing that the forces of evil can do against us. Okay? And they learned this when contemplating their massive failures in all their efforts against Maine. Okay? And so our heroic father Jacob forewarned his children that the characteristics of the personalities of Simeon and Levi, if allowed to have influence over the Yahudim, especially at the time of the Exodus, would carry forward into the culture and religion of Israel, Yahudim, to influence for anger and cruelty. And he wisely said that they were to have no place of influence, either in their assemblies or in their councils. And he, well, not really cursed, but he condemned their anger and their cruelty. All right? He was like that. Condemn may not be a right word. He did not accept this. Okay, he let them know that they were in transgression to the eternal law of love. All right, and they did not receive it well. Okay, they basically sneered at their father Jacob. Okay, they were like, "What do you mean? We avenged her." All right, and they hardened their heart. They seared their conscience. Okay, because you need to know that Dana wasn't raped. Okay, their sister Dana wasn't raped. All right, this account it gives a different account that it was not rape, and she was upset what Simeon and Levi had done. Not only was she upset, but Joseph was upset. Okay, what Simeon and Levi did was evil, and it was cruel. Okay, they were just simply mad that another nation had gotten with their sister. All right, they did not like that. All right, they see this goes all the way back up there to the Shabuah, how we are to accept the other nations among us. All right. But many of our people want to stick with their dogmatic belief systems and all of these things that, bro, it just, you gotta understand that our God is not a dictator. Okay? No, we are not to be unequally yoked. All right? But it doesn't matter what someone's nationality is. Okay? If they are choosing to be obedient to the eternal law of divine love, and they got a soul connection, you can't tell nobody that they're not allowed to be together. All right? So anyway, they were trying to dictate over their sister, and they killed the man whom their sister chose to be with. Okay. And we have seen that the people of Israel, Yahudim, during the Exodus, were indeed influenced by these two means: to either hate the covenant of Abraham, the pure covenant of Abraham, or to embrace it. Okay? Now, it's the same thing today. You're either gonna hate the pure covenant of righteousness, benevolence, divine love, all things good, or you're gonna embrace it. Okay? And the covenant with Abraham came about specifically because Anaki said wanted the traits in his personality to be the foundation upon which the character of a holy nation would be formed. He did not choose us to dictate and rule over people. He chose us to demonstrate his character and his attributes on earth. Okay? This is why he gave us the blessed, most prosperous lands. not to be evil and begin defiling it with bloodshed, eating like barbarians, defiling the land. Okay? And like, bro, if you want to live like a barbarian heathen, then it's not going to be upon his land. Okay? And I asked, why did not the Lord use the character of some other notable person who obeyed and honored, Anaki said, and have them do it? And it is because the Lord knew where the holy nation would live out its mission, and he considered the conditions of the world in that place, and no other person had the righteousness or social or moral or righteous traits that would better support their mission as a people as they stand before Anaki said than Abraham, who is a descendant of Shem. Okay? Shem is Melchizedek. Alright? Melchizedek was established. Alright? And from Melchizedek, Abraham, okay? Then Isaac and Jacob, all right? The Yahudim, okay? And not all of the Yahudim chose to stay in the benevolence of our God, okay? There's been some tribes that's been cut off, but I don't think we're going to get into that today. Okay, there's 2/3. We already know this. 2/3 of our people is been cut off from their people. Okay, they have no desire for any of this. Okay, but it's all that burns within my spirit. Okay, this is always upon my heart. It's always upon my mind. Okay, I live for this. It's like breathing to me. Okay. And the world's concept of God himself would emerge out of the process of becoming a holy nation by force. And that is because the entire focus of these forces in Shekath was to this end, that it can be seen that the leadership of a Levite competing with the leadership of an Ephraimite produced those very successes before them. All right. And the written record of the oral tradition is silent on the cause of why the children of Israel, Yahudim, went to sojourn in Egypt in the first place. But now we know that it was because the children of Jacob, for various reasons, rebelled against their eternal father in ways that point directly to the qualities of character he inherited from his father Abraham. Okay, not the eternal father, but their father Jacob. Okay, so the children of Israel rebelled. The children of Jacob rebelled against their father in ways that point directly to the qualities of character that Jacob inherited from his father Abraham. All right, which all goes back to the eternal father that Abraham sought for. All right. And that conflict carried on to produce tragic consequences, all of which witness to the success of the ploys of Shekath. All right. And finally, the last and seventh set, who were Eliezer, son of Moses, and Eleazar, son of Aaron. And when the forces of evil saw that Eliezer would succeed with half of the Yahudim and would begin to show success in their mission to be the emissaries of loving kindness to the world, as shown forth by the many people who entered into the pure covenant with them and adopted new plans, and that was to make a way for an imposed Torah to come forth from the oral traditions arising out of the influence of the assemblies and councils of the Levites, who learned their ways at Beth Peor. Okay, so you see this war. All right. Eleazar, the son of Aaron, they adopted new plans. All right, that was to make way for an imposed Torah. All right, many of my brethren pride themselves in the Torah. The Torah, that's our law. It's a written manuscript. It was written by mortal men. Okay, why do you keep ignoring that? You acting like that mortal man is actually God. Okay, there's actually benevolence that wrote that Torah. Okay, even though there's all kinds of corruptions and perversions all throughout it. All right, like in Jeremiah. Come on now. How can you say we're wise and the law of the Lord is with us? The whole reason we went into punishment was because of our sin. It was not our God punishing us. Okay? How can you say we're wise and the law of the Lord is with us when in fact the lying pen of the scribes has produced a deception? The wise will be put to shame. They will be dismayed and trapped, since they have rejected the eternal word of the true and living God. Okay? What wisdom do they really have? You keep rejecting your conscience that was given to you by the eternal living God. Okay? The eternal Father. All right? You reject your conscience. All right? And you hold to an imposed Torah. All right? And oral traditions arising out of the influence of the assemblies and councils of the Levites, all right, who learned their ways at Beth Peor, all right, animal sacrifice and eating flesh and blood. And this is known to cause one group to come home to the place whose it is, okay? That's coming back to the pure covenant. All right, being thus prepared before them by the loving hand of Enoch, said. All right, and the other wandering in the waste, howling wilderness, being lost without a way, and alien to the earth, with a vision for a people that can only lead them into captivity and exile. All right, because you're doing evil. When you taking things by force, using man-made mortal weapons, okay? When your heart condition and your mentality is after money and materialistic things, all right? Physical possessions, all right? That's all dealing in selfishness. So all of that is going to lead into captivity and exile. All right? It's all contrary to loving your neighbor as thyself. All right, and their firm plan has been to subvert and destroy the oral traditions of the people of Eleazar and his father Moses, so that there would not be a written record of the Torah that expressed the God of Abraham, the benevolent God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And woe is me, for we can see how well they have succeeded. Oh, yes, we can. Yes, we can. And there would come to be prominent a hard and cruel law of the heathen nations, instead of the law found on the tablet of Gabriel. And their intent has been that if they could not find the tablet of Gabriel to destroy it, then they could at least destroy its message and the 40 laws written upon it and replace it with a law of their own. Okay? I think, hold on. And it came to pass that after seeing and being instructed concerning the evil plans which these 7 sets of people from Shechem represented, the Lord said to me, now you know the pattern and the process evil has used to corrupt the holy name of Enoch, said. loving kindness, eternal benevolence, and how they have hidden the true character of our eternal Father. All right? And now I will instruct you in how you can undo the tragic degradation of his name. And that's where we're gonna pick it up again, okay? Hold on. And his name will be revered again. All right, his name, loving kindness, will be revered again. And it will become known rightly once again in these last days by the success of the mission and vision of latter-day Yahudim. Okay? If they will minister in such a way to reverse this evil plan and process by allowing the good person in each of these 7 sets to define the pathway back for the people to know me. Okay? Now, like I said, when we come back, we will be starting in verse 79 or so. All right, and we'll be finishing up the book of remembrance. Okay. People, we are to proclaim the mighty acts of him that called us out of darkness into his marvelous light. We are not to be mingling with the darkness, okay? We are not to be blending good and evil, okay? No, our God is not a blend, all right? Those of us that truly serve eternal benevolence, we do not pervert his name, okay? We don't blaspheme his name, okay? So on that note, I bid you farewell and shalom.